All right, we're back again, going to you live. This is Ballers Union Chicago edition. The Cubs do what they normally do and blew another chance in the playoffs. I think they're out of since the World Series. I want to say they're 1-7, 1-8 in the playoffs. Since then, they just got swept by a team that calls themselves the bottom feeders. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking, and we got a new manager in Rossi, Grandpa Rossi. He was with us in the 2016 campaign. He was a big part of us winning. Still the same results though. Saying we went for him. Outside of Madden, who won the World Series for the Cubs, but still the same results. They perform. They get hot early. They get a big lead, and then towards the end, they start, not performing as well. But since their hot start or their streaks, normally it'll be a streak in August. They have a good enough lead to make the playoffs, and then once they make the playoff, they just don't perform. They do not perform. This is becoming an ongoing thing now. At some point, you need to thinking about rebuilding. Just start trading away these players instead of because they're about to be up for contracts like Chris Bryant, Javi Baez, Contreras. Jay Haywood is his contract's almost up. Rizzo's is almost up. But yeah, at this point, we just need to rebuild because they're not performing. Your biggest stars, Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, Javi Baez. You expect those guys to come in clutch. You expect those guys to produce when runners on base. And they didn't, They didn't generate no runs. They had a very young, inexperienced pitcher out there. Granted, he looked great the first 3-4 innings, but after that, by towards the end of the fourth and the fifth inning, he was very hittable. He wasn't hitting his spots anymore. He was shaking up. We had, you had runners in scoring position. Then the Cubs, sent Contreras. He got gunned out at home plate. We're over here looking like you expect that from young teams like the Florida Marlins. You don't expect that from veteran teams like the Cubs, who won the World Series in 2016, who's constantly been in the playoffs. Because before we won the World Series, we was a few games away from, or we got swept by the Mets. But, we was a young team then and almost made it then as well. So Rizzo's having some technical difficulties. Let's see if he's back with us now. Probably not. But yeah, so back to it. We got the biggest issues I see with the Cubs. Yeah, the biggest issue I see with the Cubs is they never got a leadoff hitter. Ever since 2016, we lost Dexter Fowler to Viva free agency. We never had a table setter. We never had a leadoff hitter, a legitimate leadoff hitter. And that year when we won it all, and the year before that too, it sparked the offense. They got everybody going. They got Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, all of them to contribute more. We haven't had that since that time. These past couple of years, we haven't had the bullpen. The starting pitcher been playing great, but again, they're getting old. Lester's getting old. Darvish is he looked great this year. Hendricks looks great this year. So you got three guys. Quintana was hurt for most of the year. We gave up a lot for him. Actually, the White Sox are using both of those guys. Cease is looking like one of their rotation guys to be a starter, and Elo Jimenez was looking great this year. And the reason why they were in the playoff hunt, even though he was hurt during the playoffs. So, yeah, so that's the first thing, get a leadoff hitter. And after that, you need to get some bullpen arms. You need to get a closer, a legitimate closer. Because it looked like just this playoff series alone, it looked like Ross was scared or didn't want to put in his bullpen whatsoever. Saying for both games, he extended like Hendricks. We discussed about that briefly, that he was in there a little too long. And the same thing with you, Darvish. You Darvish was in there. You could tell his stuff wasn't the same as it was when the game started. It wasn't the same velocity, the same. He wasn't hitting the same spots. Some pitches, some sliders was just getting hung up in there. And then, saying it went from that to he gave up a home run. And then he went from the home run to an extra base hit. And at that point, at that point when he gave up the home run, you really should have had a guy warming up in the bullpen, because the inning before, you could tell he wasn't having the same stuff as he was having before. Yep. So yeah, I think my co-host is gone. He's having technical difficulty. Let's see something here. Rizzo, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And then what was that? Yeah. About Ross doesn't trust the bullpen. You're saying, I know they're ranked 7th or middle of the pack in the National League, which is not saying much. It's also a short season. So they need at this point, they just need to destroy and rebuild, because they're not going to have the money. They will have the money, but there's no point in spending money on these players that they can't produce in the playoffs. Like I was looking at a stat that Bryant, Baez, and Rizzo are combined batting in the playoffs is under 200, and that's ridiculous. You're saying because all three of those guys are MVP candidates. You're saying Baez finished as high as 2nd, Chris Bryant won an MVP, and Rizzo finished 4th in MVP votings in back-to-back years before. So this is unacceptable performance from your biggest stars on the biggest stage.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been here for all of this, but I would second that. When I looked, saw that Baez, Schwarber, Bryant, Rizzo all had a combined, I think they had 1 hit between all of them in the 2 games. So, as much as we want to give a little bit of blame to Ross, and he should get a little bit for sure, you can't really do anything if you're not getting anything from your big 4. Those are your guys, and you only managed to score 1 run in the 2 games. It's not good. You can't do anything when your offense just doesn't give you any run support. Even doesn't matter how good you pitch, because Darvish didn't pitch bad. He only gave up 2, and even Hendricks, they both got left out there maybe 1 inning too long. But one gives up 3, the other one gives up 2. You can't really be too mad at a starting pitcher for that. Offense should be able to score, especially an offense that has as many players as you just talked about for the Cubs, should be able to score at least 3 runs, 4.
Right.
So
yeah, especially today. They left so many runners stranded on base.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And but Sanchez, he pitched great. He did great when he came in. You know what I'm saying? But you could tell he's a young pitcher, and he got shaken up, and the Cubs bailed him out by being aggressive on the base and not producing, not capitalizing on the situation. You know what I'm saying? So at this point, it doesn't matter. I guess you could keep Ross as manager. He wasn't horrible. He wasn't great. But at the same time, you need to rebuild. And I would love to see where the Cubs' direction goes this time, Maybe we do what the Marlins did. The Marlins and Derek Jeter, when he was trading everybody away for nothing, everybody was calling him crazy. But look at them now. They're about to face Atlanta Braves. That's a divisional rival right there. So anything can happen in that series. They really do got some pitching studs out there. So anything can happen. And they're really confident in themselves. And they get timely hitting. That's how you win.
Yeah. I'll say the biggest 2 missed opportunities for the Cubs were those last 2 innings Sanchez was in. He needed to score in those innings. that would have really, really helped. And I feel like they really wasted that opportunity, because if they could have scored off of that kid, um, then that would have been, I think they would have had a good shot. But to not score off of them in that first inning, in the fifth inning, and then he got to come back out for the sixth, or the fourth and the fifth. I mean, when they had to
Right.
get him in that fourth, and then they had another chance again in the fifth. Once you didn't get him in the fourth, he got a little bit of confidence, but then he was still shaky in the fifth. But you let him off the hook, Can't do that, especially in a elimination game. You got to be scoring every chance you can get. And, the Cubs offense, it's been their big Achilles heel for this whole season. They just haven't been able to hit. And it reared its ugly face again in the playoffs, like it has been in recent times, Since the World Series, the offense just seems to shut down once the playoff starts. I mean, for this year, I'll say the offense never really got going. Pitching
Right.
carried the Cubs
Right.
for sure.
Yeah,
And
pitching did carry us because Alec Mills was killing the beginning of the year. Hendricks was lights out. Lester was killing. You Darvish might have won the Cy Young this year. So yeah, it was definitely that. You know what I'm saying? No, we're not the Cubs. The Cubs are losers. You know what I'm saying?
well, my team lost too, but I don't think she has a team, so I don't know if she really can call anybody losers. But that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Lovable losers. That's their nickname. But I mean, what are you gonna do? It was a series that most analysts actually did pick the Marlins. It kind of surprised me, but I guess they just all assumed that the Cubs hitting just wasn't gonna be able to do it. And the crazy thing is the Marlins now, they're undefeated in the postseason for like their whole postseason career now. So maybe they will go out and win a World Series with this team that nobody thought. And after having all the COVID stuff take out all their players, and they had to call up all these young guys that they really didn't want to, but maybe they will make a run. They get to play a familiar foe, the Braves in the next round. Braves pitching's been really good against the Reds, but overall they don't have great pitching. I mean, they have really good hitting. Don't get me wrong, that's a loaded lineup, but they are divisional foes, and that always makes things a little bit more interesting.
Yep. And Atlanta's known for blowing games. Just the city in general,
yeah,
playoff,
right.
football,
To get
basketball.
back onto the Cubs, though, yeah, I guess I would agree with you, man. It's been long enough now. The World Series was a while ago now. I do think it might be time to actually, go ahead and blow it up, see what you can get for some of these players. The only thing I worry about, it's like if you do that right now, like you are starting from ground zero, though, because I mean the cupboard is bare. There's nobody really, like, you'd have to start exactly from ground zero. You got to pick who you would want to keep, who you would want to let go, because it's not just like you don't have talent. Like, you have a team that's probably good enough to make the playoffs, but it seems like once the playoffs hit, something just isn't clicking, and you do got to make a mix-up. Now, I don't know if that means everybody's got to go, or you keep some young guys. I don't even know who in your mind would you keep, and who would you be okay with them letting go?
Well, for people to keep, you got to keep good locker room guys if you're going to go rebuild. Obviously you don't want to go full. Well, you could go full tear down. That's what the Marlins did, and look where they're at now. You know what I'm saying? We could go that route and just give everybody away and just get prospects. Or you could go keep a couple key guys like Rizzo. You could keep Rizzo, you know what I'm saying, because he's always been great in the locker room. But the Chris Bryants and the Baez and the Wilson Contreras, you could just go ahead and trade them and get a King's ransom for those guys. Somebody would overpay for all three of those guys right now. So, and then as far as pitching,
you're saying that
as far as pitching, you got Darvish still under contract. Might as well keep him. Keep Hendricks, definitely. Lester, trade him. You know what I'm saying? Because he's on the end of his career anyways. But as far as pitching, just keep Darvish because he's on the contract, and Hendricks because, saying you need some veteran pitching.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I guess I would say now Rizzo, out of the four of those players we named, is he the oldest?
Yes.
Okay, so Rizzo's the oldest, and then the youngest out of that bunch would be what? Baez? Is he the youngest?
Bias or Bryant?
Baez or Bryant? Are they the same age?
Yeah, they're around the same age.
Okay. Well, to me, I'd be fine with trading, Bryant and Baez. I might keep Rizzo and Contreras. The only reason I keep Contreras just because catching is really hard to find a good one, and he is a solid dude, and he always plays. He plays 100% every game. But Baez and Bryant, to me, at least over the last two years, been way too inconsistent. For how good everybody considers them, just too inconsistent for me. Even Baez in the field lately hasn't been as dynamic as he usually is. And I don't know if it's just because he's doing so bad at the plate that it messes him up. But I would definitely look to trade those guys for sure. I think you should probably try to move Quintana or maybe somebody else. Some of these other pitchers, maybe that have a little bit of money. Not that Quintana's super expensive, but if you're going to try to clear the books and you're going to keep Hendricks and you Darvish, then maybe try to get rid of Quintana. Some of these other guys you're paying a little bit, like that bullpen. See if somebody likes Kimbrel, since he didn't look that bad at the end of the season. And I would try to get some bullpen arms maybe in the draft or buy some. But you can get somebody to take him. He cost a little bit too much, in my opinion, and that'll really help you guys, I think, move forward to use that cash in better spots.
Right.
The other big question, though, will be: is are the Ricketts gonna let you guys let good old Theo do his job? Because it seemed like they held him back this past off season.
Now they held him back to, I want to say it's going on 2 or 3 off seasons now. They held him back. Saying the Ricketts are now running the Cubs organization as an organization, as a business instead of as a team, and they just really care about the bottom line. They really care about the neighborhood they're building or the businesses they're building around Wrigley. And I think, saying they're putting more money into that, into the actual product that got you money to even consider doing things like that. But that's a whole nother episode, a whole nother show to get through the Ricketts. You know what I'm saying? My honest opinion, I think they're on the verge of selling it, making a profit. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, because I know Theo is good at his job. If you let him do it, he probably has a plan. He probably has an idea of what to do. But if you can't let the guy do what he's best at, I don't know if it's even going to matter if you blow it up. Because, I mean, if you're just going to blow it up, but not let him get the players that he wants, that he knows will get it back to where it needs to be, I don't really know if there is a absolute solution for what's going on right now. I mean, I agree with you on some points. Kind of saw it coming with the offense doing so bad at the beginning. You were hoping maybe to start getting clicking, especially against the young pitching staff in the Marlins, team that had never been in the playoffs for most of them that were on their roster. But I just wonder if, like, blowing it all up, does it make sense, or does it make sense to keep this same roster, maybe try to add some other pieces. I don't know what. I mean, you would need some more pitching, probably, maybe one more starter, and bullpen guys would be the biggest help. But it's funny we say that because we look at the roster and we're like, man, this team should hit, and they're not hitting. So
Yeah, pitching wasn't the issue. Pitching got us that hot start. We was winning games 1-0, 2-0.
it's just, you look up and down that lineup and you just wonder, like, well, what should I go get? And it's,
Right.
I
They
guess a
definitely need a
leadoff hitter,
leadoff
I
hitter.
agree with you. I mean, Hap did well, but not a traditional leadoff. So if you went out and got a real leadoff hitter, maybe one that's out there. But I mean, other than that, up and down, you're not going to bench those guys that are there. They have to do their job better. And
Right, right.
and I don't know if that comes down to maybe Ross being like too buddy with him because he just came back. But I can't say that because they did the same thing with Madden over the last 2 years too. Like the offense was falling, you could see it. I don't
Right,
know,
right.
man. It's a weird
Maybe the
situation
key
with the
piece,
Cubs.
maybe the key piece wasn't Madden. Maybe it wasn't Ross. Maybe the key piece was Martinez, Dave Martinez.
It's possible. I mean, he is a good coach. He is a good manager. You saw last year what he did with the Nationals after they started off so bad and took them all the way to win a World Series. So it's quite possible. Maybe you need to get the right bench coaches and stuff like that. I mean, I'll say Ross for his first season. I think he did a pretty good job. He didn't make any egregious errors or anything that I thought was out of line. I'm not going to 100% say that he was like winning games either. I think he just kind of managed as best as he could with the lineup and, got him to first place in this weird 60 game season. It will be interesting to see if it's a 162 game season, what happens with this team as they were kind of falling late as a lot of teams, as the White Sox did, and even the Oakland Athletics. A lot of these teams going into this last part of this 60 game season were starting to play bad. So it'll be interesting to see what he does in a full 162 game season, and it'll be even more interesting to see what they do in the offseason because I have no idea what is the best plan for the Cubs to do. I
Right,
think
right.
blowing it up could work. I think leaving the team as is for one more shot again because of the roster. If you want to try that, I'm not saying that that's what I would do because I think blowing it up right now makes the most sense just because it's been so many years after the World Series. But when you look up and down their roster, like you said, there's about 3 to 4 MVP candidates if they play at their best. You got two of the more solid pitchers in all of baseball. So yeah, I don't blame them if they don't do absolutely anything. But there's something wrong with this team. I don't know if it's the karma or what, or something happens late in the season with this team now for the last 3 years.
Right, right. Or we could do what the Dodgers do and just buy more pieces. You know what I'm saying? But again, Theo hands might be tight on that because the Ricketts rather spend money on a movie theater and a bowling alley that no one could go to because of COVID. So that was great spending. That was a great idea. Let's build a movie theater, and movie theater's about to be dead now in the near future because of COVID. So that was awesome, awesome. Instead of buying they could have used that money instead and got a closer or got a legitimate leadoff hitter. You know, what I'm saying we could have probably went further. Uh, but yeah, they could go that route too. They could trade. You could trade one of those players, either Baez or Brian or even Schwarber, and get something that we need. Like we definitely need a closer and we definitely need a leadoff hitter. Those are two things you need to get. And we just can't go in like we did last season. We literally did nothing. So this offseason, we need to make some moves. We need to switch it up. It's either you're gonna rebuild, destroy and rebuild, or you're just gonna, take some of these people that they're so much in love with that like they're not performing like Schwarber, Chris Bryant, Baez, you know what I'm saying? They're not performing during the clutch time. You know what I'm saying? Schwarber left, three guys on base, bases loaded, he flied
Mm-hmm.
out. Baez, striking out. Chris Bryant been non-existent practically the whole year. The only time he came alive was against the White Sox at the end of the year when they're on their downward turn of the year as well. So it's
Right,
definitely
right,
a
right. That
thing.
that that series against us, I thought he was going to get going. I'm not even lying. It looked like he was primed and ready, and he had that press conference on that Saturday before the playoffs started after that game, and he sounded like he was a Chris Bryant that is primed and ready to show everybody that he still can be the Chris Bryant of the MVP days. But I don't know, man. The Marlins just had his number and just looked bad again, like he had most of the year.
Yeah, I don't think I think he had his own number. He's just terrible. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. He didn't show up. You know what I'm saying? Baez didn't show up. Rizzo didn't show up. Hayward, saying he led off the nine for the double. And, saying we couldn't even advance him to third base.
So Bryant, let me just clarify this. Bryant has the same agent as Bryce Harper, right?
Yeah, Scott Boras.
and they were talking about trying to play together in Chicago when Bryce Harper was a free agent and all that.
Yeah,
Maybe.
the reason why he didn't come is because the Cubs didn't offer him a contract.
Right. And maybe, because the Phillies don't have that bad of a farm system. They actually got a lot of good young players. Maybe you could slide Chris Bryant over to the Phillies. They have a nice young third baseman in Alec Boehm, and maybe you could even get one of their good young pitchers like a Spencer Howard to build up, um, and give Bryant to him. I bet you Boris would be happy with that, and I bet you the Phillies, who were pretty close to making the playoffs this year, they think about adding Bryant to a lineup with Harper and with all the other players they still have there. That might be a team just to look at doing it for, to still wiggle it out there. Because, I mean, if you got Bohm, that kid looked really good. He looked like he's going to be a good third baseman for many years to come. And you could slide him immediately. He doesn't even have to go to the minors. Now, Spencer Howard didn't look as good as I thought he would, but that is a really good piece since, Darvish and Hendricks ain't super young. And then the rest of it, Lester, he's old. He's probably going to be done in a year or two. And then the other back end of the rotation guys, I think they're fine. I just don't know if I trust them. But then you could get a Spencer Howard in there to either go into the minors for a little bit or become like your fifth starter. That might be a start if you could do like something like that.
Yeah. That sounds great. I actually doing a deal with the White Sox. Give them Schwarber and get that second baseman that leads off because he can't lead off for your team because of Anderson, and then throw
Oh
in a
man,
pitcher.
we got too many DHs right now.
No, you don't have no DHs because you need a replacement for Encarnacion.
Well, Encarnacion's gone, but if we still have Eloy, who's probably going to DH a little bit more, we need someone that can keep playing left field.
Schwarber played left field all this whole year when the DH spot was available. So
I know, and he's gotten better as an outfielder as each year has gone. But I don't know if I need Schwarber as an outfielder. And the thing is, I would nix that trade immediately, though. I think Nick Madrigal is going to be an all-star, and he's going to be a Gold Glove second baseman. I can't give him up. That's just me personally. If I know how they view him, and I view him the same way, I don't think they're giving up Madrigal for anything.
yeah, that would have been a great trade for the Cubs, though.
He
You
can
got
he can call. He can always call. Ricky will take his call, but I just don't think I don't think Han will make that move.
Han owes one after the Elo trade, the Katana trade. He owes one.
He don't owe you guys nothing. You needed Quintana that year for that playoff run, and Quintana was fine. It's just
No, we didn't
Eloy
need
turned
Katana
out
that
like
year.
he
Not,
usually
not at that
should.
price.
Hey, Eloy's still getting hurt for us if it makes you feel any better, and that's what they were worried about. So
Yeah.
he wasn't with us for 2 of those 3 games. It would have been nice to have him, but yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think either you blow it all up. I would trade like 3 out of 5 of those players and see what you can get, or I keep everybody and I add some other pieces. I add a leadoff hitter, I add some bullpen help, and maybe just like a fifth starter, just to have, just since Chatwood's been on and off with injuries. So that would be the 2 options I would go with if I were the Cubs.
Right. Well, yep. That seems about. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have. Any closing remarks?
Sucks, man. Both Chicago teams are out. Had high hopes for these playoffs. It's a weird kind of 3-game setup, so that probably was different for some people. But otherwise, I mean, we got to look at it. It was a great Chicago baseball season the whole time. We had 2 no-hitters, one for each team. Both teams were in first for majority of the year. You guys stayed in first. You won the division. You have a new manager. He won the division his first year. That's not bad. They just gotta they gotta do something though, because something's wrong when you keep making the playoffs and then the team just is folding like this. So I do agree they got to do something. I don't know exactly what it is. They got some options to do. I hope they let Theo do his job. That would be the best for the team, and they might still be able to be in this thing if they do that.
Yep, yep. Here's hoping to great Christmas with the Cubs making some kind of splash, some kind of moves that'll help us out in the offseason. White Sox was actually, being a Cubs fan, they were actually enjoyable to watch this year. It was fun watching all those young guys just go on the streak, even against the Cubs when they hit back to back like home runs against us on one series. So yeah, the future's bright for them. The Cubs need to figure out what they want to do next because where we at now is not working. And on that, we're out of here.